Hey guys, and welcome back to the internet. So you're probably a little bit confused or surprised as to why I'm doing another story video right now. Well, so am I. So a few weeks ago I said I was going to experiment and try different types of content. And I finally came across the type of content I really want to make. Unfortunately though, the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like when people try to change topics, since I've kind of dug myself so deep into the storytelling genre. So I'm just starting a new channel for that new content. So my new channel is called YouTube Analyzed. It's basically where I take a deep look into things all about YouTube, like why certain channels blow up, like why certain topics are popular, how the site works in general, stuff about the YouTube algorithm, just all kinds of stuff like that. A few of you noticed I put up a video a couple days ago talking about the rise of Reddit channels, and I've moved that video over to the new channel. So if you're looking for that, that's where it went. Anyways, I didn't want this channel to go to waste, and I've noticed that most of the subscribers here are really just here because they want to hear stories. So that's what I'm going to give you. I know I said I was getting bored of them, but after taking a 3-week break from them, and considering it's only going to be like a part-time thing since I'll be working on 2 channels, I don't really mind doing a few of these a week. So yeah, this channel is just going to be stories from here on out. And if you're interested in more interesting stuff that I'm working on, just check out that new channel. I'll have a link in the description. Alright, so let's jump into our first story for today. Now I've decided to pull the first story from Imagine the Internet, because I haven't actually checked that subreddit in a few weeks. Sorry guys. Called Ex-Girlfriend Wants Her Property Back a Year After We Broke Up. So a little background, I broke up with this ex about 10 years ago. I was in my mid-30s and she was in her early 20s. I was working construction and we met when work was slowing down for the year. We dated almost 3 months and we agreed for her to move in with me. This allowed her to be away from her mom. Yes, she was living at home. And allowed her to experience various things and express her own identity. All of her needs were met, and there was little that she wanted that I could not provide for her. Things were great till one weekend when the relationship went down the drain fast. Normally, if we had any differences, we would talk our way through them and usually come to some sort of compromise. As spring came and the weather warmed up, work was busy. By the time summer hit, I was working 60 to 80 hours a week in the Arizona heat. Come weekends, if I had them off, all I wanted to do was relax. The issues started when she wanted to go to the club on Friday or Saturday nights and I would not, except once a month. Dude, I'm exhausted from a hard week of work. It was July or August and one of her friends was celebrating a birthday, and it was decided that a half dozen of the girls would have a girls' night out to celebrate. No issue for me. I gave my girlfriend a couple hundred to enjoy the night. I would get texts throughout the night letting me know where they were headed to. About 9 p.m. I was informed that they were heading to one of the clubs in town. I responded, "Enjoy, I'm off to sleep." Starting about 1:30 a.m. I was well asleep. She sent a plethora of text messages. "We are going to so-and-so's place for the night. Love you. Are you going to respond?" Multiple times. "Talk to me." Multiple times. I was up about 5 a.m., my normal waking hours for work. I was surprised to see my phone in one piece after the number of messages she sent in 2.5 hours. Knowing how it is to have a long night out partying and whatnot, I did not respond to her till close to noon. I say, "Been up for a few hours, decide to let you sleep off the hangover. Hope you all had fun." Or something along those lines. 2 hours later, I get a response back. It says, "We need to talk." I respond back, "Text, call, or in person?" "We just need to talk." So I called her. What do we need to talk about? I was confused about her urgency, that we needed to talk, and about what. She says, "Birthday girl said she saw you at the club last night. Were you there?" I was like, "No, I stayed home except to get a burrito from Rodolfo's. They had the best asada burritos in town, and I ate them frequently." "So how do you explain that she saw you there?" I was like, "I cannot, because I was not there and was passed out shortly after you said you were all going to the club." At the time I was 5'6", about 175 pounds, average build, with short dark hair and a manicured goatee. In a lowly lit room I would not stand out unless you really know me. "She was certain it was you she saw." I was like, "Did you see me there? If she was certain it was me, then why didn't she come over and say something? You know me. Would I not have been with you if I were there? Plus, you know how much I've been working and what I've been like the past couple months. Is it like me to be exhausted and go out for more than a meal or shopping for necessities?" She says she will have to ask her friend and then hangs up. I hear nothing back for another 2 or 3 hours. She texts me, "She said she was not certain if it was you or not." I say, "Well, it was not me." "We are going to so-and-so's place and going swimming." I was like, "Want me to come by?" "No, we decided to make it a girls' weekend." I was like, "Oh, okay, enjoy, love you." She says, "See you tomorrow." I was like, "Alright, I'll probably head over to my sister's and brother-in-law's for a bit this evening." Around 9 or 10 that night, I messaged her that my bro-in-law and myself had been drinking his recently brewed and ready beer, and that I would be crashing at their place for the night. I get no response back. Around noon or 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon, the girlfriend graces me with her appearance. We did as any normal couple would, hug, kiss, and grope each other. She informs she was picking up a couple things and that her mother needs some help with her nieces and nephews for the evening. It was one of the main reasons for her moving in with as not to have been an unpaid sitter/nanny to her nieces and nephews all the time. I asked if there was anything I could do to help out for a bit, and she declined the offer. We bid our farewell and agreed to talk later. About 8 p.m., she starts a bunch of BS about what I had supposedly done that weekend. She texts, "I know you were at the club because birthday girl supposedly saw you there. I know you did not respond to my text Friday night because you were busy doing marital things with some bimbo. I know you did not go to your sister's last night. You went out and went over to that bimbo's place and was doing marital things with her." Needless to say, I was furious. She was calling me a cheater and a liar. I don't sleep around when in a relationship, and I do not willingly lie. What gets me more irate is that she is taking the word of what her friends supposedly saw, yet uncertain if it was me or not who she did see at the club. So I text, "I'm off to sleep soon. I have to be up at 5 a.m. I'll not argue this right now. You had all day to talk about this." I go to my phone settings and turn off my ringtone and set my messages to silent. I had an idea where this would lead if I were to encourage this conversation. I would get little to no sleep at all. Still, my sleep was pretty restless, and I was no way rested for work. I was able to read the countless messages she sent all the way till midnight, calling me a liar, calling me a cheater, saying that I was spending a third night with the bimbo from the club, and that I was not even home right now, how I did not love her or take care of her needs. I deliberately get to work early Monday morning. As I sat in the parking lot eating my breakfast, I began to text a novel to my now ex-girlfriend. I had mentally and emotionally called the relationship over. My text in a nutshell: I told you from the beginning and have reinforced this many times. A relationship with me needs these 3 things to last: trust, honesty, and respect. You take what your friend thinks she may have seen for truth, and when you ask me about it, you do not accept my word. You obviously do not respect me enough to allow me to sleep by blowing up my phone when you know I would be sleeping. I'm glad I turned off my ringtones. You have repeatedly called me a liar and a cheater for the past 2 days. I've not lied and I've not cheated. Things are over between us. I will not be in a relationship with someone who thinks I'm lying and cheating. I will not be in a relationship with someone who disrespects me by refusing me my rest when I need to rest. You have a key to my apartment. It is not yours because you do not pay any of the bills, nor is your name on the lease, other than an authorized resident. You will have till I get home on Thursday to have all of your possessions out of my apartment, and you will give the key to my neighbor. I will be requesting Friday off for a personal day, and what you have left there I will remove. Do not contact me till after 4 p.m. today. I will be at work and I will not be able to talk or text. Needless to say, she blew up my phone with texts and calls, none of which I responded to until I got home from work. I text, "I told you not to contact me while I'm working. Shows your lack of respect again. I do see that you did not get any of your belongings today. You have 3 more days until I deal with it." I got a text back almost immediately. "How am I supposed to get my stuff from your apartment?" I say, "I don't know, I don't care. As of tomorrow morning, you will no longer be an authorized tenant of this apartment complex." I called the management office during lunch, and they had the papers I needed to fill out on my door when I got home. I'm filling them out now. They know I cannot come until Friday, but they know the urgency of removing you from the authorized tenant list. I hear nothing back from her until Thursday afternoon. The key is with your neighbor. She managed to get most of her belongings out of the apartment. Friday was a nice easy day for me. I dropped some of her belongings at different homeless shelters and thrift stores in the town. Some of her stuff went to a family that had teenage girls about her size. About half of what she left I threw away because I could not give it away. I never heard from her till close to a year after I broke up with her, and I was 3 or 4 months from moving out of state. She says, "How have you been?" asking like nothing bad happened between us. I say, "Alright, moving out of state before the end of the year." I was holding back the bile that was churning from my stomach. "Well, anyway, can I get the clothes and board games I left at your place?" I thought, how clueless can she be? Did she really think I would keep clothes that are 1. Petite women, 2. Clothes that are extremely small for me to wear, and 3. I would not own those board games because I do not like the ones she had left. I say, "Well, if you can find them at the homeless shelters and thrift stores I gave the stuff to, they may have them. As for what they would not take, I threw away the weekend after I broke up with you." I was not nice in my tone with that last bit. She says, "You had no right to give away or throw away," me cutting her off knowing where this would lead. "You were given ample time to remove your belongings from my apartment. If that stuff was so important to you, you should have said something while you were moving it out. I'm not that heartless to not keep you from your stuff. You needed to communicate." She tried to cut me off, but I resisted. "Over here, ownership is 9/10 the law. You had no legal residence in my apartment, so what you left became mine. I dealt with the stuff as I saw fit." I walked away and she tried to say something. I then heard, "I would call the police on you then." I turned around and yelled back at her. Yes, I yelled at her in public. "Go for it. Nothing that can be legally done about it." Never once did I hear from or about her again. Man, jumping right back into the stories with a long one. Well, at least you technically didn't lose anything out of this whole ordeal. Now we have, entitled parents tell me I should move seats so their kid doesn't see me eat, in a food court. So I missed my tram today and I decided to get a bowl of pasta from a center nearby. The place is in a food court, and instead of individual tables, there's picnic tables set together. Maybe 16 seats each table. You find a seat and you sit in it, no matter who's around. So I grab my bowl of delicious hot pasta and look for a seat. The place is full, except for 3 seats all the way at the end of the hall. So I rush over there and put my bowl down and then dig in. Except, there's a family of 2 parents and 2 kids sitting in front of me, and this hungry kid is looking at my pasta like it's Lady Brianna and she's Tormund. She turns to her dad right away and speaks in their language, but it's obvious she wants to get food. Now this family is sitting in a food court but don't have any food with them. The dad waves her off, she repeats and points at my food. He tells her off again. The 4th time she does it, the entitled mom looks at me and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, but do you mind moving to another table? She's going to throw a tantrum if she keeps watching you eat." I say, "There's no empty seats but these 3 here. I've looked everywhere. And this is a food court, everyone is eating." The dad says, "Yeah, but we're facing the wall. She can't see anyone but you eating." I say, "Yeah, I guess she'll have to hang on for the next few minutes. I eat pretty fast." They both stare at me. The dad says, "No, I'm asking you politely to sit somewhere else. Bringing the children out of the house is hard enough without you making it harder." I say, "I'm politely saying no. The less you make me talk, the faster I eat, the faster I leave." Then their other kid says something to her parents in their language. She looks crazy embarrassed. Her parents shush her. The dad's face is completely red by now, stands up, and slams his fist on the table. Tells me to pick another seat, or else. I'm not worried. I'm a foot taller than him, so I can take him. All of a sudden, the kid starts crying really loud, flailing up and down like a muppet, and threw herself to the floor. The entitled mom tells me they were having a good day until I came along. I told her not to bring a little kid to a food court and not feed them. She said they were resting. Not my problem. They had to lift the kid and carry her so they could leave. Her screeching was filling the entire place, and the poor kid was looking on the ground like she wanted it to swallow her. I took my time eating my pasta. So, why in the world are you just hanging out in a food court anyway? I mean, the only reason to be there is if you're eating. These people just don't make sense to me. Now I've got entitled kid tries to rip an ear off of a 4-year-old, and entitled mom tries to finish the job. So this happened when I was in kindergarten, so I don't really remember it accurately, and I'm posting it here because, well, I've got nothing better to do. One day, when it was my mom's turn to pick me up from kindergarten, she found me crying my eyes out. Initially, she assumed that it was due to some minor thing that happened in kindergarten or something, and tried to ask me what happened, but I didn't speak, only cried throughout the ride home. Finally, my parents understood that something was seriously wrong with me, since I was still crying non-stop. They took me to the doctor, who found a really bad bite wound at the back of my ear. It had broken the skin, as was 1 step away from infection. The doctor gave me something for the pain, and I dozed off. Firstly, my mom freaked out thinking far-fetched gruesome stuff, but the doctor calmed her down, saying that the bite mark evidently belonged to a kid, not more than a year older than me. The next day, my mom accompanied me to the school office and told the whole story to the principal, and asked to check the security cameras. Since the bite was very severe, the parents of the kid who did it had been told about it according to the school policy. According to the recording, a kid named Entitled Kid had walked up to me. We had a brief conversation, and then he had just bit the back of my ear. Apparently, I was still not ready to tell anything to anyone. The video showed another kid, a nice kid, who had witnessed the scene but hadn't told the teachers. So the nice kid and entitled kid were called to the office. When the nice kid asked why he didn't tell anyone about it, the following conversation. He says, "I was afraid the entitled kid would hit me again if I tell on him." The principal says, "So, entitled kid had done this to you before?" He says, "Yes." "No, he's a friggin' liar." Everyone is shocked that the entitled kid used such a word. What kind of language would his parents be using around him? "Entitled kid, please don't say that word again. Now tell me, why did you bite him?" He says, "I didn't bite him." My mom says, "You know that's a lie, principal. We saw the video." Says, "Yes, you're right. Since he has some severe bruising because of the entitled kid, we must call his parents." The principal dials the entitled mom's number and she arrives an hour later. She stormed into the principal's office and the following. "Hello, entitled mom, please sit." She says, "STFU, they told me on the phone that some dummy falsely accused my kid of biting him, and of some snitch. I demand to see the principal." She says, "Please don't swear in front of the kids. We're going to have to talk about that someday. As for now, it wasn't any false accusations, because this kid here has been bit by your..." "So it's one of you slurs that wants to get my son into trouble because he's smarter than you, yes?" My mom says, "Don't talk to my son like that, idiot, and mind your language." Before the entitled mom can say anything, I start speaking. Entitled kid bit me because I didn't want to give him my stars. By what my mom tells me, kids at the kindergarten got star stickers in their notebooks for doing a good job at whatever they do in kindergarten. The kid says, "He's lying." The mom says, "I know, dear. He doesn't need your stickers. You probably don't even have any." Now, the principal is exasperated and shows the entitled mom the camera recording. Now, a sane person would expect her to reprimand her son, and apologize for being a jerk. But no. The only part of the footage she fixed into her brain was that I tried to push the entitled kid off me when he tried to bite my ear. Did that brat really push my angel? He was only curious about how your ear looks like. All kids his age are curious. You should have known. Lady, I was a kid his age. My mom says, shut up, for the last time. I don't want to swear at you here, so please don't escalate it. As you can see, your child clearly tried to bite his left ear, and hadn't my kid pushed him off, he'd have ripped it off. Now, the entitled mom makes the statement of the century. Read carefully, Redditors. The Caesars and Alexanders who make such statements don't run around in your backyard every day. It says, you should have let him then. Your son doesn't need ears. What is he gonna do with his life anyway? Saying this, she lunges forward and grabs my hurting ear and pulls it with the strength of a million switch-stealing Karens. I let out a deafening scream. Not like it had mattered to me. I was almost deafened by that time. My mom goes full mama bear mode and punches the entitled mom off me, and smacks her across the face with her. Then she goes full mama bear mode and roasts entitled mom to the earth. I've had enough of you, disgrace for a snake's mother. Mom comes up with pretty colorful and non-dirty insults when she wants to. Now you don't need your fat ugly body, and since you're not going to do anything with your life, I'm gonna kill you if you don't move your entitled moronity away from my son. What happened after that was quite a blur. I was taken off to the hospital while the police took away the entitled mom. My mom pressed charges but doesn't remember what happened to her. Recently, I've been reading throughout my own history and found out how freaking close that woman was to ripping off my ears. And if that lady is reading this, I've done more with my life than you could have ever done in jail. So get your entitled moronity out of my post now. I mean, we can only hope, but something tells me that lady's not browsing Reddit on the regular. I wonder if there's people out there who deliberately try to be as terrible of a person as possible, just in hopes that they end up in one of these stories. So I guess there is a slight chance that she's reading these. Alright, let's get into our final story before the question, which is, entitled woman demands I fire an employee, and then threatens my job when I tell her I don't work here, so I fired myself. So this story takes place roughly 2 years ago at my local grocery store chain. Let's call it Crowmart. I did work at Crowmart at this time, but at a completely different location. Also, I didn't drive at this time due to medical reasons. As well, in case any content creators stumble upon this, I've already censored it for y'all. Oh, well that's very thoughtful of you. So after finishing up a long tech rehearsal for an upcoming musical I was a part of, my mom picked me up to go straight home. Alas, that is not what happened. Halfway there, she tells me we needed to run by Crowmart. Upon arrival, I was ready to get out of there, so I suggested we split up to cover more ground. Since I've gone to this location as long as I could remember, I knew exactly where everything was. Which was when the nice customer approached me. They tap on my shoulder. I say, yes ma'am? Would you mind telling me where this item is located? I say, sure, it's aisle 12. Thank you very much. And she walks away. I went ahead and started playing my music again, and as I looked around I saw this entitled woman talking to an employee with what seemed to be an angry manner. As soon as I saw her point in my general direction, I looked away and went about my shopping. That's when she struck. She says, excuse me, manager, you over there. So me, knowing it's impossible she's talking about me since I'm not a manager, that's when I felt a tug on my shoulder, and as I turned around I saw a very angry, entitled woman in my face. So I take out my earbuds. Ma'am, please don't touch me. I do what I want. I'm a flipping paying customer. So I take a step back. Cool, so am I. So if... No, you're not. You work here. I know it. The employee says, ma'am, I'm trying to tell you he doesn't work here. He says, yes, he does. Only reason you're saying otherwise is because he's your manager. No, at this time I was a 5.5 teenager wearing a red button-up shirt, black tie, and reddish jeans. Nothing close to Crowmart attire. I say, again, I don't work here. He says, shut up. Just shut up. You work here. I saw you helping out another person. I know you're his manager, and I want him fired for this instant for not getting my candles. If you don't, I'll have your job too. So me, knowing this isn't going anywhere, I decided to have some fun. Alright, employee, she's caught us. I'm only pretending to not be a manager to upset you. Now, what's the problem? She says, finally, this idiot keeps telling me that you are out of candles I like, and there's none in the back. I say, well, I guess we're out. No, you're not. I know it. I say, you're right, we're lying again. Employee, you're fired. Go get someone higher up than me because I'm fired too. The employee, who's been silent up to this, catches on and goes to get the manager. She says, well, before you're fired, you need to get me that candle. I say, find it yourself. You just said you'd have my job. And guess what? You've had it. Your boss will be here in a moment, so I suggest you get to work. She's visibly shocked. Wait, what? At this time, the employee and the real manager shows up and says, what's going on here? I say, oh, hey boss, here's your new employee. I hired her to take my place since I'm fired now. He says, no, I don't want... But of course you do. You said you could do better. Isn't that right, boss? So the manager, trying to suppress a grin, sir, you don't even work here. I say, oh, I know, but she insists I am. But you do work here. The manager says, no, ma'am, he doesn't. Looks at me. Sir, you can go now. The employee filled me in already. Sorry for the holdup. I say, it's alright. It's been fun not working for y'all. I leave the three of them to sort things out. A short while later, I was waiting for my mom up front when I look over to see the employee speaking to the nice customer. She sees me, waves, and starts walking towards me with the employee, who had a worried look on his face. Says, sorry to bother you again. I say, oh, it's no problem. What can I do for you? Nothing really. I just wanted to tell you how great of an employee this guy is, and how helpful he was. The employee says, ma'am, I appreciate this, but... Oh, it's alright. Don't be embarrassed. I just believe that management deserves to know good workers who help their customers. I say, ma'am, I'm glad you had a great experience and all, but I don't actually work here. She says, you don't? But you seem like you know where everything is, and you were quite helpful. I say, that's because I've gone to this store as long as I can remember. As for helping you, I didn't mind since you asked nicely. Oh, well, I'm sorry to bother you. Have a wonderful day. She leaves to go find the actual manager. It was an interesting day to say the least. You know, all you have to do is wear this shirt to avoid any confusion. How'd you like that for a shameless merch plug? Man, this story actually reminds me of something. So when I was a kid, I used to think that anyone could just tell anybody, you're fired. And then that would actually cause them to lose their job. And the thought of that just like terrified me because I'm just like, whoa, so like if I just went up to my dad and said, you're fired, then he would just lose his job and like we'd be a mess. Man, having this much power scares me. I guess I was just influenced by all the movies and TV shows where somebody says, you're fired, and then it's like a huge deal. Anyways, let's move on to the question of the day, which is, people who have met their online friends, what made you instantly regret it? So my brother met a girl in person that he had known for 4 or 5 years online, during which time they had kind of an online relationship. 4 or 5 years? How could you maintain a relationship for that long without ever actually seeing the person? She brought her friend with her to meet him, and while they were sitting around the table awkwardly making conversation, with my brother apparently quite shocked at how bad she looked in person compared to how she looked online, and having absolutely no interest in her other than as friends, the girl sent her friend a message saying, OMG, get me out of here. He's looking at me like he wants to jump me. But she accidentally sent it to my brother. What ensued was likely incredibly painful to be part of. My brother showed her his phone and looked at her in disgust. Well, at least he had an easy way out. But seriously though, like, I don't really understand how people can, like, maintain an online relationship where you don't actually see each other at all. I mean, like, I'm all for meeting people online and then, like, meeting up in person, but the thought of, like, leaving it online forever just seems like it would be impossible to keep it together. I met a girl I really liked on WoW, but she lived in another country. After a couple of vacations there, it turned into a relationship. I made the decision to move and start a new life there with her. After living there for 4 months, I slowly realized she was really crazy. Huge mood swings paired with a lot of aggression. Ended up getting stabbed in the side by her while asleep. Needless to say, after getting out of the hospital, I took the first plane back home. She's still in a psychiatric hospital. You know, stories like this usually give online dating kind of a bad name. You know, people will hear stories like this and be like, oh, see, this is why you should never date somebody online. You never know who they could turn out to be. But I honestly believe it doesn't really matter where you meet somebody. Like, let's say that these people met just in person and then the same outcome happened. Like, nobody's gonna tell you, see, that's why you should never meet people in person. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that meeting people online is perfectly fine. I met my old friend on Roblox about 3 years ago, but he turned out to be like 40. Yeah, I mean, it's usually good to at least get to know the person online before meeting up in person. But I mean, he did say his old friend, so, I mean, he is pretty old. I invited him over to my house, and he shat all over my toilet. Just to clarify, it was not in the toilet. It was on the seat, and a bit of it landed on the floor. Well, that's a good way to hit off a new friendship. Just letting them know that you have no idea how to use a toilet. My friends and I met him playing League of Legends, and it turns out that he only lives about an hour away. He insisted on being referred to by his game name when in person, and made a big deal of it whenever someone called him by his real name. Yeah, these are the type of people you only meet online, because, considering they never go out in public, you're never gonna run into them out in the wild. Kinda like me. When I was 14, I had an online friend 2 states away who was 14. He and his mom took a trip to see me, and the first thing we did when we saw each other was run full speed at one another. Our heads bounced off each other, and I chipped my tooth and broke his braces. I'm pretty sure his front tooth was also loose and had to go to the dentist to fix it. Okay, well, let's just end it there. So what do you guys think about meeting people online? You know, I used to use OkCupid pretty regularly, and it worked out occasionally. but the site itself has just gone so far downhill, it's practically unusable, that now I'm actually meeting more people on YouTube than I ever did there. So, but yeah, that does it for the first story video in about 3 weeks. I hope you guys aren't too mad at me for taking a break, and don't forget to check out my new channel. And I will see you guys next time.